You know, when we think about wine, like really good wine,
Mm.
our minds automatically go to those classic regions, right? Like France, Italy, maybe even California.
Yeah, definitely. Those are the big names.
But that's what I love about these deep dives. We get to uncover these hidden gems, these places that are producing incredible wines, but maybe haven't quite hit the mainstream radar yet.
It's like discovering a secret.
Exactly. And trust me, this one is a doozy. Get ready to have your cork officially popped, because today we are diving headfirst into the world of Algerian wine.
Algerian wine, huh? I'll admit I don't know a whole lot about it.
Most people don't, and that's what makes it so fascinating. We're talking about a country with a winemaking tradition that goes back, get this, over 2,500 years.
Wow, 2,500 years. That's like ancient history.
Ancient is right. We're talking Phoenicians, Romans, the whole shebang. These ancient civilizations, they knew a good thing when they saw it, and they saw it in Algeria. And you know what? Not much has changed. The land, the climate, the grapes, it's all still there, just waiting to be rediscovered.
So what makes Algeria so special for growing grapes?
Well, we got to talk terroir, right? But it's more than just that generic Mediterranean climate.
Oh, I see. It's more nuanced than that.
Way more.
Yeah.
Algeria's got this crazy, diverse landscape.
Really?
Yeah. You've got the hot, dry plains, perfect for those big, bold reds. And then you've got the cooler coastal areas where they're producing some seriously elegant whites and rosés. All this within a country, by the way. That's about twice the size of Texas.
That's wild. So much variation in such a relatively small area. Okay, you mentioned the Phoenicians. Are they the ones who brought winemaking to Algeria?
They were the OGs, the trailblazers. They saw the potential of this land, the warm days, cool nights, those well-drained soils that grapes just love. And they thought, hey, let's make some wine.
Smart cookies.
Yeah.
And then, of course, came the Romans. They were famous for their love of wine. What did they bring to the table?
Well, the Romans, they weren't just about quantity. They were all about quality, too. They saw Algeria as a place where they could really up their wine game. They expanded the vineyards, experimented with different grape varieties, really laid the groundwork for a thriving industry. It's actually pretty mind-blowing. Some of those ancient Roman vineyards are still around today, still producing grapes. Can you imagine that? Talk about a legacy.
That's incredible, to think about those vines witnessing centuries of history. But after the Roman Empire fell, what happened to Algerian wine?
Things got a little, shall we say, complicated.
That's usually how it goes with complicated.
Right. Invasions, shifting political powers, not to mention the rise of Islam, which traditionally isn't exactly wine-friendly. It's a lot. But here's the thing about Algerian winemaking. It's a story of resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah. It's like no matter what life threw at it, Algerian winemaking found a way to adapt, to survive. It might have been forced to take a step back at times, but it never fully disappeared. And that, my friend, makes the story of its comeback even more remarkable.
Okay, now I'm really curious about this comeback. But before we get into that, let's talk about the wines themselves. What kind of grapes are we talking about here? Just the usual suspects, or does Algeria have any surprises up its sleeve?
You'll find your Cabernet Sauvignons and your Merlots, for sure. But what really sets Algerian wine apart are the native grapes, those varieties that you just won't find anywhere else in the world.
Ooh, native grapes. Now we're talking. Give me the details. What are these mysterious grapes called, and what kind of flavors can we expect?
Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because we are about to embark on a flavor adventure. We're talking about grapes like Obeda and Churchill. Ever heard of them?
Can't say that I have. Tell me more.
Let's start with Obeda. Picture this. You're sipping on a big, bold red. You get those earthy notes, a hint of spice, maybe a little something that tickles the back of your throat.
You're talking about tannins, right?
Mango. Tannins.
Oh.
Obeda is known for them. It's a grape that's perfectly adapted to Algeria's climate. It produces wines with structure, complexity, and this real sense of place.
It's like you're tasting the land itself.
Exactly. And then you've got Churchill, another fascinating grape. This one brings these beautiful aromas of red fruits, sometimes with this subtle spiciness that's really captivating.
It sounds like these native grapes are a big part of what makes Algerian wine so unique.
Absolutely. They're like the heart and soul of Algerian winemaking, a direct link to the country's ancient history and its unique terroir. Okay, so we've got these ancient vines, these unique grapes, this incredible story of resilience.
It's a pretty compelling package, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what's driving this Algerian wine renaissance that we're seeing now? We talked about some turbulent times, post-independence, a focus on quantity over quality. What changed?
Yeah, that shift in focus was definitely a turning point.
Towards quality.
Exactly. And a big part of it is this new generation of winemakers. They're really stepping up, embracing their heritage, but also bringing in fresh ideas.
Like a breath of fresh air, right?
Totally. They're not afraid to experiment, to combine modern techniques with those traditional methods that have been passed down for generations. It's a really exciting time for Algerian wine.
Are there any examples that come to mind, like specific ways they're blending tradition and innovation?
Well, one thing that's really taking off is sustainable viticulture.
Oh, interesting. So thinking about the environmental impact.
Absolutely. Many Algerian wineries are all about it, using natural fertilizers, being mindful of water usage, even incorporating things like solar energy into their operations. They're thinking long term about preserving the land for future generations.
It's really cool to see that kind of commitment. And, it makes you realize that winemaking isn't just about, like, the final product. It's about the whole story, the connection to the land, the people, the history.
100%. And that's something that really shines through in Algerian wines.
It's interesting, we often associate wine with, like, Europe, but here we have Algeria, this North African country,
Yeah.
with its own unique take on this ancient global tradition.
And that's what makes it so exciting. They're not trying to copy anyone else. They're carving out their own path, creating wines that reflect their own vision.
It's about reclaiming their narrative in the world of wine, which I love. Speaking of stories, you can't talk about wine without talking about food, right? So paint me a picture. What kind of culinary delights would I encounter on an Algerian table?
Get ready for a sensory overload. Imagine this, a tagine, simmering away in its earthenware pot. The air is thick with these incredible aromas, cumin, coriander, saffron all mingling with the rich scent of lamb or chicken, tender vegetables, sweet dried fruits.
Oh man, I'm already drooling. You had me at Ted Hedgen, to be honest.
And of course, no Algerian feast is complete without couscous. That fluffy, flavorful base, served up with everything from hearty stews to those amazing vegetable medleys.
It's giving comfort food, but, like, elevated.
Exactly. And we can't forget about the seafood. Fresh from the med, simply grilled, maybe a drizzle of olive oil, a squeeze of lemon, some herbs. Algerian cuisine is all about fresh, vibrant flavors with this beautiful touch of spice that just wakes up your palate.
It all sounds incredibly delicious. But now for the most important question. How does Algerian wine play with these bold flavors? Any classic pairings you can share? Hit me with those pairings. I'm ready to plan my Algerian feast.
All right, so remember that lamb tagine we were talking about? Rich, savory, all those warm spices.
Oh yeah, I'm not forgetting that anytime soon.
That, my friend, is where a full-bodied Algerian Syrah comes in.
Ooh, a Syrah. Nice.
You get those peppery notes, those dark fruit flavors in the wine. It just sings with the tagine.
A symphony of flavors. I
Right?
like it.
Yeah.
What about something lighter, though? Like to go with that fresh seafood?
If you're thinking grilled fish or maybe a seafood couscous, I'd go with a crisp, citrusy Algerian rosé.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Cut through the richness.
Exactly. Plus, those bright fruit flavors in the rosé will really complement the natural sweetness of the seafood.
Man, it's amazing. We're not just talking about pairing wine with food. We're talking about experiencing a whole culture through flavor.
That's what's so special about it, right? It's a journey for your taste buds.
For real. And it's cool to think, these wines that we're talking about, they were once enjoyed just within Algeria, and now they're making their way onto tables all over the world.
It's a global wine world now, and Algerian wines deserve their spot on the map.
Couldn't agree more. What's wild is that this is still just the beginning for Algerian wine.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much diversity, even within Algeria. You've got these small, family-run vineyards that have been passed down for generations.
Oh, talk about tradition.
And then you've also got larger wineries pushing the boundaries, trying new things.
The best of both worlds.
Exactly. And then you've got these cooperatives, which are super important because they help support those smaller growers.
Keep those traditions alive. I love that.
It's really a community effort, and you can taste that sense of community in the wines themselves.
That's beautiful. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Algerian wine, it feels like we're not just celebrating a comeback story, but also the start of something truly special.
I think so too. The future is looking bright for Algerian wine.
Cheers to that. And hey, listeners, here's a final thought. If exploring the world of wine is all about discovering new cultures, new experiences, then Algerian wine is an adventure you don't want to miss. Until next time, happy tasting.